A number of Chinese car makers have come and gone in Australia over the years without making much of an impact. But the latest contender, Haval, might be a little bit different. It recently launched in Australia with a 3 SUV lineup, priced and specced against more established rivals from Korea and Japan, and inspired by those out of Europe. This one is called the H8, and it sits above the H2 and below the larger H9. Can it really justify the premium price tag? Let's find out. The Haval H8 is about the same size and weight as a Ford Territory, but only seats 5 people like an SUV from a class below, such as a Mazda CX-5. Inside, it's loaded with equipment and upmarket materials, while outside it has swathes of chrome bits, which perhaps help justify its rather ambitious price tag as tested of $44,490 plus on-road costs. And that's the real story here. Most unknown brands price their cars a lot cheaper than the competition, and once they've got a reputation established, they can then increase it. Case in point, Hyundai. But Haval clearly wants its cars to compete on merit and not price. And you know, on first impressions, this is actually a really well-resolved interior. Some of the materials, the leathers and the soft-touch plastics and wood and silver and piano black inserts, are top-notch. And there's a very European-style look to the design, at least on first impression. And get a load of the Mercedes-inspired diagonal stitching in the doors and cruise control stalk, or the very Jaguar-esque, touch-sensitive black lights in the roof. And not only do these seats look a treat, they're really comfortable and supportive as well, and they've got plenty of electric adjustment, and the Australian leather feels supple and hard-wearing. The equipment levels are strong. Read the review for the whole array. The screen is responsive enough, albeit with dated graphics, and the sound system is particularly excellent. This habit button is just weird though. In essence, it's all nice enough for the most part, but there's not much in here that you wouldn't get in, say, well, once again, a top-spec Mazda CX-5. The fact that this car's almost Territory-sized means that, as you'd expect, there's plenty of room back here. The headroom's really good, even with the sunroof fitted, and as you can see, there's tons of legroom as well. And furthermore, these really deep side windows mean the outward visibility is top-notch. And you get a whole array of really nice comfort features back here as well. I mean, you don't just get air vents, but you also get your own separate temperature control. And this ski port doesn't just have your customary cup holders, but it also has a little storage cubby here. There's 2 Isofix tethers for your child seats, and just like in the front, these seats are really comfortable. They also fold really flat, liberating impressive amounts of cargo space. It's really a bit reminiscent of a Honda CR-V. And one thing the Honda doesn't have are these, once again, really Mercedes-inspired silver kick plates. It's not all perfect though. There's only epoxy space saver spare under the floor here, and this really heavy manual tailgate could definitely use some automation at this price point. Under the bonnet is a 2-litre turbocharged petrol engine with 160 kilowatt and 324 Newton meters, matched to a 6-speed auto designed by ZF. You can get a rear drive version, but we have the 4-wheel drive one here, which brings with it off-road tech such as hill descent control. Not that this car is really designed for much more than basic gravel tracks. On road, its engine performance is more modest than the figures suggest, given its 2.2 tonne weight, and its fuel use of 13.5 litres per 100 k's on our test is heavy indeed. And it's not just in the engine department where this struggles. For instance, the steering, a hydraulic setup, is really heavy and it's slow in the rack, so it's not that manoeuvrable at low speeds. And when you take a corner, it's a bit like an SUV of yesteryear. There's really noticeable body roll. The ride is actually pretty good though. Things like speed bumps are dispatched with no trouble whatsoever. Although when you approach something like cobblestones, there is a hint of brittleness to be found. The braking is pretty good for a car this heavy, although that pedal feel is a little bit wooden. And while I'm slowing down, there is one more thing I'd like to show you. The car is fitted with a reversing camera, which is commendable. However, there is a quirk.
Attention, please select the parking mode.
Every time you turn it on, it insists on talking at you. Kind of a small problem, but it irks me nevertheless. And so the Haval H8 really comes down to price, because you can get an SUV from a more established brand whose name you know and trust with a proven resale value for about the same money. That being said, there's plenty of positives here as well. The H8 is enormous in the back, the cabin is really nicely resolved, and there's plenty of equipment inside as well. And so we really hope that Haval stays the course, because while a H8 might not quite be a world beater, there's enough potential here to suggest that one day the company could be. And in that mission, we wish it the best of luck.